Good morning Year 10, it's Wednesday the 13th of May. Today we're going to move on from our and or work from yesterday and incorporate that into something called a tree diagram. Now this is quite a tricky topic, used to be on the higher tier, now on the foundation tier at the very end. I will come back to this at some point in Year 11, but it's important you kind of get your head around it a little bit now, and we did touch on it earlier in the year or last year, I can't quite remember which. I'm going to do this by using one example, and then there's a few questions for you to have a go at, and the working out is all important, so I'll talk about that as I go through the video. So we're going to draw a tree diagram for this scenario. So we've got each day Tate and Esme have a packed lunch at school. They get either chocolate or fruit for their pudding in their packed lunch. The probability that Tate gets chocolate is 0.3. The probability Esme gets chocolate is 0.6. And the question in the exam now will be really clear. It will say draw a tree diagram. Now that's normally worth 2 marks, and then you get 1 mark for each answer after that. Now the more detail you put into your tree diagram, the easier life is going to be. So I'm just going to move the camera so I've got a bit of space to write. So the more information you put in your tree diagram, the easier life is going to be. So I've got 2 things going on. They're independent events. It's Tate getting chocolate or Esme getting chocolate. I'm going to start with Tate on my tree diagram. So I'm just going to make myself a little label at the top. Okay, this gives me an idea of where my tree diagram's going. And for Tate, there's 2 choices. He either gets chocolate or he gets fruit. So I'm going to label those 2 branches. We've got chocolate or we've got fruit. So I put what the outcome is at the end of the branch. Okay, these are our branches. I put the outcome at the end. Now we know the probability that he gets chocolate, the C here, is 0.3. And so the important bits are, and if you're making notes on this, which is what you should be doing, our branches always add up to 1. So this bit of branch adds up to 1, the next bit of branch up here will add to 1, and this bit will add to 1. That's what makes sure our probability works. So if this is 0.3, well, what do we add on to 0.3 to get to 1? It must be 0.7. So Tate's got a 0.7 chance of getting some fruit. Now we've done Tate there and we've got our first mark. Now if they're being kind on the exam, they'll give you one of these numbers. You can put the other number in, you get your first mark straight away. Then what happens is I'm going to have to look at Esme's packed lunch. So I've got Esme on this side, and we start from the end of our branches. So we don't have these hovering, we must start on the end of the branches. And again, Esme has 2 choices, it's chocolate or it's fruit. It's chocolate or it's fruit. So I'm just going to move the camera down so you can see that. It's chocolate or it's fruit. Now for Esme, the probability she gets chocolate is 0.6. So again, chocolate here, 0.6. And because these events are independent, these numbers are going to be the same on every branch. It's only at kind of grade 7 on the higher tier when we get conditional probability that these change. We don't need to worry about that. So we're looking at each individual section of branch. So that top section there, well, I've got 0.6 and it must add up to 1. So I'm looking for, what do we add to 0.6 to get to 1? And it's 0.4, and that goes in both places. Can do a little check. Does that bit add to 1? It does. That bit, yep. That bit, yep. So I've probably got myself 2 marks on the exam. Just now going to do a little bit of working out at the edge, because working out at the edge is then going to give me all of my answers later on. So I'm going to look at an outcome, and I'm going to look at my probability. And the probability is going to use what we did yesterday. So our outcome here is chocolate for Tate and chocolate for Esme. This is chocolate and fruit, fruit and chocolate, fruit and fruit. Now because these are independent events, remember the probability that Tate gets chocolate and Esme gets chocolate, that and means that we multiply. So I've got 0.3 times 0.6. We can do that on a calculator. We might know already that it's 0.18. 0.3 times 0.4, 0.12. Now sometimes this will be with fractions, sometimes it will be with decimals, it doesn't matter, you're just multiplying to get these answers. Fruit and then chocolate, well I've got 0.7 and 0.6, so I multiply them to get 0.42, and fruit 0.7 times 0.4, 0.28. Now I've got all my different probabilities here now, so all the questions should be easy. Now though is a good time just to do a double check, because if I've got this right, all of these probabilities should add up to 1. Remember that probability will always add up to 1. So I've got 0.18 plus 0.12 plus 0.42 plus 0.28. When I type that in, press equals, it adds to 1. So I know my probabilities are right here. So I can then start to answer the questions that are associated with this tree diagram. So once I've got these numbers down the side, it's pretty easy. What's the probability they both get chocolate? Well, the probability they both get chocolate is this outcome here, which gives me a probability of 0.18. I've done all the hard work as part of the tree diagram. Probability that they both get fruit, well, that's this one here, which gives me a probability of 0.28. And then the probability that one chocolate, one fruit, well, that's going to be this one. Let's go into a different colour, we'll go into orange. So it's chocolate and fruit, or it's fruit and chocolate. Now remember that or means that we add. So this is going to be 0.12 plus 0.42, which gives me an answer of 0.54 altogether. There are 5 questions on the sheet. Question 5 is a little bit more tricky. Questions 1, 2, 3 and 4 should be able to just fill everything in and start to work your answers. Let me know any questions and I will follow up tomorrow with some more practice of this depending on what you say today. Have a good day.